Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. As you may have guessed from the change in background, we are back in Scotland. So for this one we're going to have a look at one of the beers that has been really kind of hyped up when it comes to Scottish craft beer these days. We're going to return to Galashiels and we're going to revisit Tempest Brewing Co, who are fairly widely regarded as one of the best Scottish craft breweries these days, and I have to agree with that assessment. These guys do some pretty damn awesome stuff. So we're going to have a look at one of their quite hyped beers today. So this one is the Mexicake. It's an Imperial Stout that comes in at 11% ABV. It got a 99 overall on Rate Beer. I think it was a 93 within the style, and it was 4 point something that it had on Untappd as well. But this one should be really interesting. Like I said, 11% ABV. It's got cinnamon in it, vanilla beans, cocoa, mulatto chilies, and chipotle chilies as well. So really looking forward to this one, and I'm glad that I'm finally getting to review this one for you. So I hope you guys enjoy my particular take on this beer, and this is a good one to kick off some Scottish reviews for you. So yeah, as always, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery here. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Tempest Brewing Company before. This is review number 4 or 5 from these guys, if I'm remembering correctly. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city or state, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Scottish beers that I've reviewed for you, and that's being added to whenever I can, of course. And please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys, and the support you give the channel is hugely appreciated. Do in particular let me know about any little Scottish breweries that I might not have heard of. I have had some recommendations from bottle shops and things like that here, but if there are any that I should definitely check out, please get in contact. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Tempest Brewing Company then. So Tempest Brewing Company was founded back in 2010 by Gavin and Anika Meiklejohn. So Anika actually trained as a chef in New Zealand, but the couple returned to Scotland in 2007 to run the Cobbles Bar in Kelso in the Borders area of Scotland. So Gavin had previously worked for Whistler Brewing Company in British Columbia in Canada, so he had a real appreciation for craft beer already, and he'd also taken some brewing courses in Sydney, Australia. He brewed in his garage for a period of time in Wellington, New Zealand as well, using a 50-litre brew kit. Wellington, of course, is the kind of beer hub when it comes to New Zealand. There's some great stuff comes out of that city, and of course, if you've watched the channel before, you'll know that I absolutely love New Zealand hops. But Gavin is actually joined by Alan Rice at the brewery, who is the business development manager. He previously worked for Stewart Brewing Company in Edinburgh, who, by the way, also do some very good IPAs and pale ales and stuff like this. Cap High is one of my favourite Scottish IPAs that you can get, so I recommend that you check that one out. But this brewery was previously housed in old dairy buildings in Kelso, and their brewery that they had there was largely homemade. It was designed so that they could produce big massive beers like this one and the Brave New World and stuff like that on a very, very small budget. But they've since proved that their beers proved to be very, very popular, and they've since moved to the Tweedbank Industrial Estate in Galashiels, and they seem to be going from strength to strength. They're constantly expanding their capacity and stuff like this. So if you do get the chance to try some Tempest beers, I recommend that you do. The Brave New World was really, really good. That's maybe one of the best IPAs that you're going to find in Scotland. They also have the Marmalade on Rye, which I do need to try, although I think I tried an early version of that, which was their collaboration with Brewdog that they did for one of the collab fests, and that was the very first Tempest beer that I tried. So I do recommend you try some of their beers. Their core range is very good, and they're always doing kind of special things like this. Apparently they've got a double IPA called Alligator Man, which I've been told I need to check out. So hopefully I can review Marmalade on Rye and Alligator Man for you when I'm home here in the summer. So yeah, as I say, this is a really interesting brewery. Make sure you check out all the things in the description below, but we will get on to the tasting section of this video now. So yeah, as I told you, this one is an 11% Imperial Stout. It's hopped with Columbus. It's got a malt base of Golden Promise, chocolate, roasted barley, caramel, oats, and regular barley as well. The caramel and chocolate malt, of course, as well, and it's got additions of cinnamon, vanilla beans, cocoa, and then mulatto chilies and chipotle chilies as well. So I think this is actually going to be the first Chilli Imperial Stout that I've reviewed for you. I have had some Chilli IPAs and things like that, but off the top of my head, I can't think of any Chilli Imperial Stouts that I've had. I know Brewdog did some of them in part of their, I think the Dog B and Dog C or something like that was a Chilli Imperial Stout, but this is the first one that I think I've actually reviewed for you on the channel. So yeah, there you can see really nice artwork on this one, very, very distinctive actually. It's almost kind of like I forget what you would call it, but I like these kind of nice sort of skull things. It's almost like these Cuban style of artworks, or voodoo, that's what I'm looking for. My brain's not working this evening. But there you can see, this beer of course has won numerous awards. What's the one here? I can't even read that. 2016 Golden Award from the Scottish Beer Awards or something like that. One of the standard Tempest bottle caps on this one, of course, they do tend to be different colours depending on what beer it is you have. It tells you a little bit about the beer on the side there. You can pause the video and look at that. But yeah, really nicely presented this one. As I told you, an 11% Imperial Stout, and it's best before the 13th of April 2018. So yeah, it actually has a quite short shelf life in comparison to some of the other beers I've had of the same the same alcohol content. But let's get this guy open and we'll get on with the tasting. A special shout out in this video of course to Sam from Hippo Beers in Glasgow. She arranged a box for me coming back home to Scotland, so a big thank you to her, and I will put the Hippo Beers Facebook page in the description for you below. But she's recommended me a few Scottish breweries that I haven't been able to try since I moved over to Sweden, so you will see a few of those coming up. But yeah, so yeah, as you would expect with this one, it's poured a really nice kind of dark ebony rosewood colour. It looks like a very, very nice beer, this, and there's a solid kind of half finger of a frothy dark kind of beigey tan head on this one. It's actually not got too much in the way of head. I thought it would have had a little bit more, but yeah, it looks very, very nice. If I put my fingers behind the glass, you can see there's not a lot of transparency to this beer at all, probably just because of the colour of it, but I think it's fair to say that's a nice dark ebony colour, this one. Maybe very slightly ruby around the edge. If I hold it in front of the light behind the camera, then I think it's got a little bit of a ruby edge to it. There's one or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass there, and a few little ones just going up towards the bottom of that head, which by the way is just fading back to be a very, very thin foamy layer, but looks exactly as you would expect from an Imperial Stout. So yeah, we'll take a closer look at the aroma then. You can get a nice sweet chocolatey note from this one. It's got a little bit of a kind of, how do you say, a little bit of a kind of caramelly note coming off it as well. But let's take a look at it more closely and see how we get on. Yeah, that's really nice. You can definitely smell some of the vanilla in there. There's a lot of chocolate, as you would expect. You can smell a little bit of the a kind of spicy note as well, which will be the cinnamon. There's a lot of toasted brown sugar as well. It smells mainly like a big sweet Imperial Stout, this. I'm not getting too much in the way of the chili. The spice is coming mainly from the cinnamon. But I do remember in the chili IPAs and things like that, I don't remember the aroma from the chilies actually overpowering the hops or the malts in it. The chilies did tend to be fairly, how do you say, fairly absent from the aroma, I guess. But it's really nice. It's a very sweet smelling Imperial Stout. Like I said, a little bit of chocolate. It does have an element of brown sugar note to it. You can definitely pick up some of the vanilla. It's almost got a woody kind of nutty undertone as well. Some cinnamon spice, like I was saying. There's a wee bit of earthy hop, and you can pick up just a little bit of a kind of roasted black malt as well. But overall, it's a really quite nice smelling beer. You can pick up a little bit of a kind of red fruity sharpness. If you take it in quite deeply, you can pick out a little bit of this sort of red fruity ester. It's like a kind of raisiny note that I'm getting from it. Maybe a little bit of candied red fruit thing as well. But overall, you know, it smells really nice. It's a big sweet aroma that this one has. So as I always say, just take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma that you're going to get from these beers. That's half the experience when it comes to craft beer and whiskey and things like that, so do make sure you do that. But yeah, let's get stuck into this one then. So this one is the Mexicake from Tempest Brewing Company in Galashiels in the Scottish borders. Meant to be one of the best craft beers that you're going to find in Scotland. Maybe one of the best Imperial Stouts. So let's get stuck into this one then. Slange it, and once again, thank you to Sam over at Hippo Beers, Scotland. That's really quite nice. It's very, very smooth as well. That's the first thing you're going to notice about this one. You do notice right away that little burny bit in the back of your throat from these chilies, and it's very subtle as well. That was one of the reservations I always had about these chili IPAs and things like that, was just that in some of the chili beers that I've had, such as it was the Neon Overlord from Brewdog. That thing was just so badly balanced, and that was one of the reservations I had about it. But you either need to kind of balance it with a big malty sweetness or a big hoppy bitterness, but they've got it spot on here. And you know, with the reputation that Tempest have, as I said, they're widely regarded as one of the best Scottish craft breweries, and to me, with this beer, even just with one sip, they are kind of proving that here. You are going to notice with this beer right away though, it's a big boozy beast. It hides the alcohol quite well, but you can just feel with this one, and that maybe is, it does feel a little bit warmer just because of the chili as well. As I say, that little burn that you get in the back of your throat there, it's really, it is kind of subtle in comparison to some other ones, but you can feel a little bit of the alcohol warmth down here. But you know, that's always a good thing to have. So yeah, there's quite a bit going on in the flavour with this one. It's very, very smooth as well. You're going to notice this is a big, full-bodied beer. But in the middle of your palate, you're going to notice there's a little bit of roasted black malt just underpinning this one, and all the other things are building up on top of that. And as I always say, shuggle with these dark beers. Shuggle it around your palate and let your whole mouth adjust to it before you start analysing the flavour too much. But like I said, there's a bit of a roasted black malt backbone to this one, a bit of a tongue twister that. But yeah, on top of that, you've got some nice kind of sweet chocolate in there. That roasted black malt starts to come out a little bit more as you progress into the aftertaste. And in a way, that kind of replaces some of the chili burn that you have initially, which is quite interesting. But I'm getting an element of kind of brown sugar in there. You can definitely pick up the nice vanilla character, to me, in the middle of your palate. It comes across as a little bit woody. The vanilla does have some of that kind of slightly creamy sweetness that you can get from it, but the woody undertones that it has kind of suits that a little bit as well. The woody notes, of course, are very kind of subtle. It really is a very kind of subtle taste, that, but there's definitely, you can pick up a little bit of that slightly spicy cinnamon in the middle of your palate too. It's really nice. There's a lot of complexity to this beer, so do make sure you can take a little bit of time and just mull over all these flavours. There's a lot going on. Yeah, that's really good. There's a lot of chocolate in here. The chocolate and vanilla really goes together very, very nicely. It starts off really sweet. You get a little bit of burn at the start of the flavour from the chilies. It starts off really, really sweet. That fades away, and then you start to get a little bit more of these kind of roasted, kind of black malt elements coming out of this one. But it's a really, really nice beer, this one. There's a little bit of a light kind of pale bready, grainy sort of thing in there too, and that kind of backs the beer up as well. It helps it transition from being kind of a little bit hot from the chilies. It helps it into the sweetness, and then it starts to push you into the kind of roasted black malts as well. It makes a really nice transition, this one. It's all about the malt base in this beer. On the hoppy side of things, in the back corners of the palate, I think you can get a little bit of earthiness. The Columbus hop, of course, is a really nice one to use when it comes to these big Imperial stouts, but I'm getting a little bit of earthiness there in the back corners of the palate, and it really smooths out as you come further forward. There's a wee bit of grassy and floral character around the front parts of your tongue. You can feel just a little bit of bitterness on the front corners of your palate too, and just a light grassiness around the front curve of your tongue. But the hop in this one is really quite subtle. It's a very, very smooth hoppy character that you're getting from this one. There is definitely a little bit of red fruit in there as well. If you go behind the front curve of your tongue, you'll feel that little oily bubble come out that I always talk about, and that's where these kind of juicy red fruity esters come out of the beer. Yeah. And it's definitely, to me, those kind of fruity esters that I was talking about. It's a little sort of, it's kind of like, it's mainly a figgy character that I'm getting from this one. It's just got that little bit of smoothness, and as it progresses and progresses, it starts to become a little bit more like a kind of candied red fruit. It reminds me a little bit of the heart-shaped sweets that I always talk about, the little heart-shaped sweets that you get in the Haribo Star Mix. It's just a little bit of that red candied fruit ester in there. As this flavour is progressing, I can actually see why they've called this beer Mexicake. You know, it does have a little bit of a kind of cakey flavour to this one. It's got that sort of bready, spongy kind of cake note in it. Initially, for me, it starts off very chocolatey, but as you get more and more used to the aftertaste, you do progressively get more and more of this kind of interesting cake flavour to it. But overall, it's a really interesting beer, this one. I like how the chilies are a little bit subtle in this. It really works for the beer. The name Mexicake kind of suits it down to a T. I would love to know what kind of inspired them to make this beer, where the first thought came for this. But you know, when it comes to Tempest, as I say, their marmalade on rye that they did is really good. I think it seems to be the idea that they are kind of foodies, basically. I mean, if you think about marmalade on rye, I remember the first kind of version of that, it was supposed to taste like marmalade on toast, and it really did, actually. So I guess this is something similar. They've probably read some sort of cake recipe and thought, oh, that could be an interesting Imperial Stout. And I guess with Anika being a chef, that's maybe part of the idea. So it's a really interesting kind of concoction, this beer, and it works very, very well. But it's certainly, as they said on their website, this is one that's going to pair very, very well with desserts and things like this. But a huge thumbs up to Tempest Brewing Company on this one. They've done a great job with this beer. So if you're into chili stouts, you're really, really going to enjoy this one. This is a really high standard, this beer. Even if you enjoy a slightly sweeter Imperial Stout, and you are going to enjoy this one, but if you like your Imperial Stouts to be a little bit roasty, this one is a kind of good gateway into some of these chilly Imperial Stouts too, because the hotness isn't too big on this, and it also has a little bit of that kind of roasty, bitter backbone to it as well. So in that regard, it's a really quite good beer. I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink this again, but like I was saying, this is a dessert beer. This is one that you have a taster of. It's by no means one that you're going to session, but overall, the thing to take away from this review is that Tempest have done a pretty damn good job, and with the reputation that they have, I certainly wouldn't expect any less of them. So if you get the chance to try this beer, I highly recommend that you do. And you are starting to find this one abroad. I actually saw this beer in the Mikkeller bottle shop over in Copenhagen, so if those of you are watching over in Sweden and Denmark, this is where you can get the beer over there. But I would love to see Systembolaget in Sweden take some of these Tempest beers, because these are a really good reputation. These would give Scottish craft beer a very, very good reputation, of course. But in terms of the mouthfeel of this beer, this one's definitely full-bodied. Carbonation on this is very smooth. It's got a really oily mouthfeel, this one, actually. This is probably one of the kind of thickest syrupy Imperial Stouts that I've come across in quite a wee while, actually. It's a really, really smooth one. There's a good bit of bitterness to the malt base. It comes out a little bit more in the aftertaste, of course, but initially there's quite a bit of sweetness. You get a little bit of chili warmth at the back of your throat. Of course, there's a wee bit of alcohol warmth down here. The malts do have a good bit of sweetness, like I was saying. The hops are very, very smooth, and there is a little bit of juicy, fruity character in there as well. The aftertaste, the lingering aspects in the aftertaste are a little bit of the chili, and you've got that nice kind of sweet, cakey, slightly woody note in there as well, and some of that roasted black malt that just underpins the beer as well. But overall, it's a really, really nice beer, this one. The brown sugar elements are giving the cakey aspects of the beer a very kind of a really interesting backup as well. But overall, like I said, it's really, really good. So if you get the chance to try this one, I highly recommend that you do. So yeah, it's been really cool to review this one for you on the channel here. It's been a long time coming, actually. I will try and make sure that I can review the Alligator Man and the Marmalade on Rye for you at some point. I know some of the English guys have done that. Craig at Kent Beer Reviews, I know, has done the Marmalade on Rye, and he rated that pretty highly. So I will try and review that for you over the summer as well. But if you get the chance, make sure you try the Mexicake from Tempest Brewing Company in Galashiels here in Scotland. These guys have got a reputation for a reason these days. So yeah, once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Do let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below, and let me know what your favourite beers are from Tempest Brewing Company. Let me know some of the smaller Scottish craft breweries that are up and coming at the moment, because I know there's quite a few of them that I haven't heard of yet. I've been looking at the beer shops and stuff like this, so please do get in touch and let me know some of the more random Scottish craft breweries. But make sure you try the Mexicake from Tempest. I would really recommend this for those of you who love a kind of roasty, toasty Imperial Stout. It's a very good gateway, this one, into some of these chilly Imperial Stouts too. So until the next time, slange it just now, and I will catch you guys very soon. The Mexicake from Tempest Brewing Company in Galashiels in Scotland. A really cracking Imperial Stout, this. Slange it just now.